Welcome back to Managerial Accounting. In this video, we will begin with part 2 of chapter 3. Part 2 of chapter 3. And we know that chapter 3 deals with process costing. And as a disclaimer, this video and all other videos on my YouTube channel is intended for educational purposes only. I do not own the copyrights to the materials presented. All rights belong to their respective owners. Okay, let's start with part 2 of process costing. And we'll begin with learning objective 3.3, which is the only objective that we will discuss in this video. So learning objective 3.3, prepare a production cost report for the first department using the weighted average method. Puzzle me. We're still continuing with puzzle me. Okay, how is a production cost report prepared for the first department? So that's the question we're going to answer. For a comprehensive example of a process costing system, we're looking at puzzle me. And here you see in exhibit 3.5, it illustrates the two major production processes. In the first process, you have the assembly department. The assembly department applies glue to the cardboard and then presses a picture onto that cardboard. Then we have the cutting department, and they actually cut the board into the puzzle pieces, and they package the puzzles in boxes. Now, these boxes are then moved to finished goods storage. The production process uses materials, machines, and labor in both departments, and there are two work in process inventory accounts. One is for the assembly department, and of course, the other is for the cutting department. So we're going to complete a lot of calculations in this objective, in this chapter, actually. So as you work through the computations, keep that picture 3.4 from the previous video, part 1, keep that in mind so you don't confuse inputs with outputs. And the inputs are the materials, labor, and overhead. And of course, the outputs are the completed puzzles. A production cost report must be completed for each department. The production cost report shows the calculations for the physical flows and the cost flows of the products. Now, there are 4 steps in preparing a production cost report. The first step is to summarize the flow of physical units. Step 2 is to compute output in terms of EUP, or equivalent units of production. Step 3 is to compute the cost per equivalent unit of production. And step 4 is to assign costs to units completed and units in process. 2 unique terms are used on a production cost report. You have the to account for, which includes the amount in process at the beginning of the period, plus the amount started or added during the period. Then you have the other term, accounted for, which shows what happened to the amounts to account for. They are either still in process or completed and transferred out. Now, these terms are both units, they're used for both units and costs. To account for and accounted for must always equal. The assembly department applies glue to the cardboard and then presses a picture onto the cardboard. Now, operations for this department includes two inputs. You have the direct materials, which is the glue and cardboard, and they are added at the beginning of the process. The conversion costs are added evenly throughout the process. The assembly department's data for July, for the month of July, is summarized here. So for the assembly department, you have the units to the left, where you have the beginning WIP, started in production in July, transferred out in July. Then you have the ending work in process. And to your right, you see you have costs. You have the beginning work in process, whereas you have the direct material costs, conversion costs, direct materials costs added in July, conversion costs added in July, which are direct labor, manufacturing overhead allocated, and then you have the total conversion costs added. The assembly department had 8,000 units in process on July 1st and started 42,000 units during the month. Therefore, to accounted for is 50,000 physical units. The assembly department completed the assembly process on 40,000 of the 50,000 units to account for, and it was transferred, they transferred those units to the cutting department. So you have a remaining 10,000 units, right? The remaining 10,000 units must still be in process. And we have accounted for all units. The account for equals accounted for. So we are ready to record this information on the production cost report. So here you see in Exhibit 3.6, it shows units to account for and units accounted for. So notice that we are completing the unit section of the report. So at this point, we are not yet assigning costs to units. So step one is the physical flow of units, as you see here in the physical cost report. Or should I say production cost report. So you have Puzzle Me, production cost report, assembly department, month ended July 31st, 2025. The assembly department worked on 50,000 puzzle boards during July. We have already determined that 40,000 puzzle boards are completed and have been transferred to the next department. If they are completed and transferred out, then they are 100% complete for both direct materials and conversion costs in this department. So another 10,000 puzzle boards are only 25% complete. equivalent units of production for direct materials total 50,000 because all the direct materials have been added to all 50,000 units worked on during the month of July. So because the direct materials are added at the beginning of the process, if the units are started, then 100% of the materials have been added. The assembly department worked on 50,000 puzzle boards during July. We have already determined that 40,000 puzzle boards are completed and have been transferred to the next department. If they are completed and transferred out, then they are 100% complete for both direct materials and conversion costs in this department. Another 10,000 puzzle boards are only 25% complete. Conversion costs are 100% complete for the 40,000 puzzle boards completed and transferred out to the cutting department, but only 25% of the conversion work has been done on the 10,000 puzzle boards in ending work in process inventory. Here you see in Exhibit 3.7, it shows how we use this information from step 2 to update the production cost report. So here in step 2, you have the EUP. It shows entries in the equivalent units columns. You have the production cost report for the company Puzzle Me for the month ended July 31st, 2025. Step 3, compute the cost per equivalent unit of production. So the assembly department has to account for costs associated with the following. You have work done last month on 1,000 partially completed units, which is the beginning work in process. Then you have also work done this month to complete the 8,000 partially completed units. And then you also have work done this month on the 42,000 units that were started into production. The weighted average method combines the beginning work in process costs and the costs added during the period into one cost pool. So what is a cost pool? A cost pool is an accumulation of individual costs. The total costs to be accounted for include direct materials and conversion costs and will be calculated as beginning work in process costs plus costs added during the period. The next step is to calculate the cost per equivalent unit of production. Computations are required for both direct materials and for conversion costs. The assembly department has $208,000 of costs to account for. Okay. $140,000 are in direct materials cost. And then you have $68,000 in conversion costs. In step 2, we computed equivalent units of production for direct materials as 50,000 EUP and the conversion costs as 42,500 EUP. Because the equivalent units of production differ, we must compute a separate cost per equivalent unit of production for direct materials and for the conversion costs. The cost per equivalent unit of production for direct materials, you see here, is $2.80. And then you have the cost per equivalent unit of production for conversion costs at $1.60 per EUP. Here in Exhibit 3.8, it shows the cost per equivalent unit added to the production cost report. So you see the production cost report for Puzzle Me, the assembly department, month ended July 31st, 2025. To assign the cost of the two inputs to the two outputs, this step must be repeated 4 times. The step must be repeated 4 times to assign direct material costs to completed units and in-process units. Then you have conversion costs to completed units and in-process units. So in step 4, you assign costs to units completed and units in process. The cost must be divided between 2 outputs: the 40,000 completed puzzle boards that have been transferred out to the cutting department, then the 10,000 partially completed puzzle boards remaining in the assembly department's ending work in process inventory. This is accomplished by multiplying the cost per equivalent unit of production, step 3, by the equivalent units of production, which is step 2. So costs accounted for equal equivalent units of production times cost per equivalent unit, which is 40,000 equivalent units times $2.80 per equivalent unit equal $112,000. So we have accomplished our goal of splitting the $208,000 total cost between the completed units and the in-process units. And we can now record these costs on the production cost report. So on the production cost report, you have the direct materials completed 40,000 EUP times $2.80 per EUP equal $112,000. Then you have in process of 10,000 EUP times $2.80 per EUP equal $28,000. So the total for that is $140,000. Then you have the conversion costs. Completed 40,000 EUP times $1.60 per EUP equals $64,000. And then you have in process 2,500 EUP times $1.60 per EUP equal $4,000. So the total conversion cost is $68,000. Here you see Exhibit 3-9. It shows the completed production cost report for the assembly department. Step 4, the costs accounted for as shown by entries in the bottom cost section. So at the top here, you see equivalent units. You have units, physical units, direct materials, And then you have conversion costs. Under costs, you have direct materials, conversion costs, and then total costs. And again, step 4, costs accounted for. So for the direct materials, you have $140,000, conversion cost, $68,000, and the total cost is $208,000. Okay, and that's the end of part 2. That's the end of part 2. In our next video, we will begin with part 3 of chapter 3, process costing. Thank you for watching, and please do not forget to click the like and subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below and I will reply to you.